Welcome to the Explainer. Okay, let's just dive right into this. I want you to picture something with me. Imagine a dreary, gray, clockwork factory. It's just running endlessly day in and day out. For a huge chunk of us, this isn't just some imaginary scene. It's literally our daily reality. This factory, it perfectly represents the traditional 9-to-5 work structure. Today, we're unpacking a really fascinating concept from the productivity space. We're going to look at the hidden architecture of our workdays, figure out why it leaves us feeling so incredibly drained, and, most importantly, how we can finally break free from it. Get ready, because we are officially starting a biological rebellion. So, I have to ask, why does the 9-to-5 feel like it's biologically destroying you? Seriously, we have all been there. You've got the heavy eyes, the sheer bone-deep fatigue, just struggling to keep up with the relentless ticking of the gears. You wake up, you go to work, and by the end of the day, you don't just feel naturally tired from a solid day's effort. No, you feel entirely hollowed out. You feel biologically depleted. But why? Why does this specific schedule feel so incredibly punishing to our human systems? Well, to understand that, we need to look at Section 1, the invisible time script. Look, the exhaustion you're feeling, it's not an accident, and it's definitely not a mystery. We're all operating on an invisible script. Basically, this is a deeply ingrained traditional corporate structure of time management that dictates a totally rigid 9-to-5 schedule. And here's the crazy part. This structure was designed a long time ago during the Industrial Revolution. Its whole purpose was just to maximize the steady output of factory machines. Yet here we are, still applying it to modern human knowledge work today. Because it's so deeply embedded in our culture, we just accept it as the default setting for life. We literally never pause to ask, does this rigid structure actually align with how human beings are naturally built to function? Nope, we just blindly followed a script. Which brings us to Section 2, the factory floor trap. This invisible script, it effectively turns the modern office into a grueling factory floor. Think about it. You are expected to operate exactly like a machine. You power on at a specific time, run continuously at a steady output, and only power down when the proverbial whistle blows. So at 9 a.m., you clock in. By 12 p.m., you get a brief halt for lunch. But then, right around 2 p.m., boom, the biological crash hits. Now, listen, this isn't just you needing another cup of coffee or being lazy. This is a scientifically documented physiological dip in your circadian rhythm. Your body temperature naturally drops, your cortisol levels absolutely plummet, you are experiencing what's called an ultradian trough. Yet, the corporate script demands you just push right through it, keeping that steady, machine-like output all the way to 5 p.m. It's a complete trap, because humans simply aren't machines. All right, let's shift gears and talk about Section 3, your biological mismatch. We really need to stop looking at our schedules from a strict corporate perspective and start looking at them from a purely biological perspective. In fact, if you only take away one thing from this entire explainer today, let it be this. It is not your fault. It is biology. When you hit that massive wall at 2 p.m., it is not a lack of discipline. Actually, scratch that. It's not a flaw in your work ethic at all. Your exhaustion is simply your human biology reacting to a fundamentally unnatural time management structure. You are a living, breathing biological organism trying to survive on a completely mechanical timeline. So we essentially have a choice between two completely different paradigms here. On one hand, you have the clockwork factory. This relies on rigid, traditional corporate structures, and its primary byproduct, your total, absolute exhaustion. Conversely, we have high-performance science. This approach actively validates human biology over that outdated 9-to-5 script. It recognizes that, hey, we naturally possess circadian rhythms. We have predictable energy peaks and inevitable cognitive valleys throughout the day. True high performance isn't about working relentlessly like an automaton. No way. It's about optimizing the human organism based on actual physiological science. And that brings us to Section 4, the biological rebellion. Now, it's not enough to just understand this biological mismatch. You need a rebellion tool against this traditional corporate structure. Acknowledgement is a great first step for sure, but you need a practical, actionable weapon to protect your biology from the intense demands of that invisible script. You have to actively reject the notion that your energy levels should be perfectly flat and dictated by a clock on the wall. So here is exactly how you wield that tool to take your energy back. Step 1, acknowledge the biological mismatch. Stop pretending you're a robot that can maintain steady output for 8 straight hours. Just stop it. Step 2, validate your exhaustion. When you feel completely drained in the afternoon, recognize that it's your circadian rhythm acting exactly as it is biologically supposed to. And step 3, break the 9 to 5 invisible script. This is where you actually rebel. Start mapping your most intensive, deep work to your biological peak hours, which for most of us is in the late morning. Then, fiercely protect your energy valleys. Schedule your restorative, low-impact administrative tasks during that 2 p.m. physiological drop. You stop letting the clock dictate your capacity, and you start letting your biology lead the way.
Finally, we arrive at Section 5, escaping the mechanism.
You see, when you finally break the script, you aren't just surviving the workday anymore. You are operating at a profoundly high level because you're finally working in harmony with your own nature. Let's quickly synthesize everything we've covered today. First, remember that the 9 to 5 is an invisible script built for machines, and it is actively destroying you biologically. Second, your exhaustion is completely validated. It is biology, not a personal flaw, so please let go of the guilt associated with that mid-afternoon crash. And finally, you must use your rebellion tool to actively map your schedule to your natural biological rhythms rather than outdated corporate expectations. So I want to leave you with a final, vital question to think about. Will you stay trapped in the invisible script, or will you start your biological rebellion today? The science is super clear, your biology is valid, and the tool is right there in your hands. It is entirely up to you to break the mechanism. Thank you so much for joining me to unpack this fascinating topic today, and I will catch you on the next explainer.